As I lost millions, my friends and my girlfriend abandoned me. I ended up at McDonald's and came back thanks to an online business. When I inherited $1.8 million from my grandfather, people treated it as proof that I was special. No one asked if I knew how to handle that kind of money. They assumed I did, and I let them assume it because it felt good. I let their expectations become my identity, and that was the beginning of my biggest mistake. I didn't earn that money, but I let it convince me that I had earned something else: respect. Before the inheritance, my life was average and structured. I worked a normal job, paid rent, checked my account before spending, and worried about the future in a healthy way. The day the money arrived, that worry disappeared, not consciously, but subtly. I stopped thinking in terms of limits. I didn't feel rich in a disciplined way. I felt protected. Consequences felt distant, abstract, like something that happened to other people. I didn't see the money as capital to manage. I saw it as permission to upgrade my life and myself. I bought a luxury car, not because I loved cars, but because I loved how people reacted when I stepped out of it. I rented a large apartment with a city view that impressed visitors more than it ever impressed me. I ate at expensive restaurants, paid for tables, ordered bottles I didn't even enjoy. Spending became a performance. My social circle changed almost immediately. People I barely knew suddenly wanted to spend time with me. Conversation shifted toward ideas, projects, and opportunities. Leo was always there. He called me his brother, told me I had vision, said I was meant for big things. He agreed with everything I said and never questioned my decisions. At the time, I thought that meant loyalty. In reality, it meant convenience. Leo was the first person to push me toward investing. He spoke confidently about startups, exits, and disruption, but never about fundamentals. When he brought me an electric scooter startup pitch, I didn't analyze the numbers. I didn't ask about revenue, burn rate, or competition. I invested $200,000 because it felt powerful to say I had invested. When the startup failed months later, Leo said it was part of the game. After that, he slowly disappeared. That loss should have humbled me. Instead, it irritated me. I didn't see it as a warning sign, only as bad luck. I told myself I needed safer investments, something tangible. That's how I convinced myself to enter real estate. Real estate felt mature and responsible. I bought an old house because the projected numbers looked good on paper. I ignored the inspection report and underestimated maintenance, insurance, taxes, and vacancy risk. Within months, something broke almost every week. Cash flow turned negative, but instead of cutting my losses, I kept injecting money, convinced that stability was just around the corner. Then I bought an apartment in an area described as up and coming. I didn't research zoning changes or economic trends. New regulations reduced rental demand, and the property became almost impossible to sell. That was my first real lesson in liquidity. Owning an asset doesn't mean you can convert it to cash when you need to. Crypto came next, and that's where discipline collapsed completely. I entered late, emotional, and overconfident. I followed influencers, joined private groups, and stared at charts for hours. I wasn't investing, I was reacting. I lost over $500,000 through impulsive trades driven by fear and greed. Volatility punished my ego faster than ignorance ever could. By the time a well-dressed man sold me his AI trading algorithm, my judgment was already compromised. He showed dashboards, testimonials, and performance graphs. I wanted to believe him because Belief was easier than accountability. I transferred $300,000. He disappeared within weeks. When I finally faced reality, my account showed $14,000, two properties draining cash, no income, no direction, and suddenly no friends. Messages slowed, then stopped. Invitations disappeared. People who once depended on my generosity were suddenly unavailable. I learned that relationships built around money don't end loudly. They fade quietly. Daniela left without drama. She talked about stability, the future, and alignment. Translation: I was no longer a good investment. I didn't feel heartbroken as much as empty. I realized she loved a version of me that no longer existed. McDonald's wasn't symbolic. It was real. Long shifts, grease burns, loud customers, managers younger than me correcting my mistakes publicly. Sometimes people recognized me. One laughed. I cried in the bathroom that night, but that job stripped life down to fundamentals: income, expenses, time, energy. No illusions, no shortcuts. During breaks and after shifts, I studied obsessively: finance, cash flow, risk control, real business models. I stopped chasing fast money. I wanted predictable money. I discovered AI not through hype, but through practicality. I didn't ask how to get rich with it. I asked how it could save businesses time or money. That question changed everything, and it marked the true beginning of my recovery. At first, my interest in artificial intelligence was purely defensive. I wasn't dreaming about wealth or freedom. I was trying to avoid starvation. I needed something scalable, something that didn't depend on my physical presence or the number of hours I could stand on my feet. I started reading documentation, watching technical breakdowns, and analyzing real use cases instead of hype. Most of what I found online was exaggerated or misleading, but buried underneath the noise were real tools solving boring problems. I noticed that small businesses didn't need innovation. They needed efficiency. They were wasting hours answering the same questions, posting inconsistent content, manually processing simple tasks. I didn't pitch them AI as magic. I pitched it as labor reduction: time saved, costs reduced, measurable outcomes. That language worked because it respected their reality. My first client was a local service business. I charged almost nothing because I needed proof, not profit. I built a basic automated system that handled customer inquiries and appointment scheduling. It wasn't impressive, but it worked. They saved time, they paid me. More importantly, they stayed. That retention taught me more about business than any investment book ever had. I reinvested every dollar carefully: software subscriptions, better hardware, skill development. I tracked expenses obsessively. I created simple financial statements for myself, even when the numbers were embarrassing: revenue, costs, margins. I stopped lying to myself through vague optimism. Numbers don't care about confidence. As more clients came in, I standardized my services. I documented processes, built templates, reduced variability. I didn't scale fast. I scaled deliberately. When demand exceeded my capacity, I raised prices instead of adding chaos. That decision protected my margins and my sanity. I finally understood that growth without structure is just accelerated failure. When I quit McDonald's, there was no dramatic moment, no announcement, no victory speech. I finished a shift, handed in my uniform, and walked out quietly. Relief felt better than pride. That job had done its job. It humbled me and forced me to rebuild from fundamentals. As my income stabilized, I resisted lifestyle upgrades aggressively. No new car, no bigger apartment, no visible signs of success. I paid off remaining debts, built an emergency fund, and kept my burn rate intentionally low. I treated money like oxygen instead of decoration. People from my old life slowly reappeared: friendly messages, casual check-ins, subtle curiosity. Some apologized vaguely. Others pretended nothing had happened. A few asked for help directly. I kept interactions polite but distant, not out of revenge, but out of clarity. I no longer needed validation from people who only respected me when I was useful. Leo reached out eventually. He congratulated me and suggested we collaborate again. I declined without explanation. I wasn't angry, I was finished. Growth sometimes means refusing familiar patterns, even when they feel comfortable. Daniela contacted me months later. We met for coffee. She said I seemed different, calmer, more grounded. She was right. I wasn't trying to prove anything anymore. We didn't restart anything. Closure doesn't always mean reunion. Sometimes it just means understanding. Financially, I moved slower this time. I diversified intentionally. Cash reserves first, then low-risk investments. Then, selective opportunities aligned with my actual knowledge. I didn't chase trends. I waited for clarity. Patience became my competitive advantage. Today, my business operates mostly online. I work with clients in different countries. I have a small team, clear processes, predictable revenue. I'm not a millionaire again, but my finances are finally coherent. Every dollar has a purpose. Every risk is calculated. Losing everything taught me lessons that success never did. I learned that money amplifies who you already are, that ignorance feels harmless until it compounds. That pride is the most expensive liability you can carry, and that survival forces honesty faster than motivation ever will.